Welcome to the TOWTalk podcast. Today is Sunday, July 26th, and we got some issues to go over. We're going to talk about sales tax in the county. We're going to talk about more drama in the town of Monroe, and but we're going to get started with and we also want to remind people how much we want debates, but we'll get into that later on. But one of our first stories, we're going to talk about an issue regarding colleges that is affecting everyone here at home as well as across the country. But before we get started, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Click that bell so you get notified when new videos drop, and leave us a comment of 7 words or more. We also want to welcome, we had a number of new people join us in the last week. Want to welcome you. Thanks for being a part of us. Please remember to tell your friends. And also, make sure you're subscribed to the Daily Gripe because we're putting more content over there. All right, without any further delay, let's get started. All right, Neil, how are you? What's going on? I've been
good.
gone for a week.
How are you? How was your vacation?
It was nice. It was nice. We didn't get to go on the boat because, of course, the day we wanted to go, it rained. And then when we finally did get signed up, the boat broke down. Their generator broke down. I know so much about broken down generators, let me tell you.
You do. You do.
Yeah, I do.
I'm surprised you weren't able to fix it for them.
They didn't ask. But yeah, they ended up canceling a whole day's worth of boating trips, and they got it fixed the next day. But of course, that was Friday, and we came home on Friday. So,
any rabid beaver attacks?
No, it was we stayed right in town, right across the street from the lake. I put some TikToks or Tic Tacs, as the president likes to call them, on my personal TikTok account, Denise NY1. Check that out. There's some pictures there and some stuff, and me just talking to everybody and telling you all about Skinny Atlas and what that was like. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. So let's get started here. I know you wanted to talk about college issue. I think this is incredibly important. More shit coming from this fucking fascist government.
Right.
So tell us all about it.
So I'm going to play you a news clip from Aaron Parnas. He's been reporting on a number of issues regarding this administration. But this really is an important issue. And I cannot stress this enough because it will impact families all across New York State. And, if the administration is allowed to do this, it's going to impact many future generations, including the generations of our children right now, the Gen X children, like the millennium children who are getting ready to send their kids off to college, or thinking about sending their kids off to college, or are saving. Like, I mean, you got to remember, like, you have a kid, you may be saving from the time that they start elementary school. Like, and right now, as the affordability crisis continues to rise, you're putting less and less money away. So I'm going to share this clip, and then we're going to talk about it and go from there.
Administration is putting out a new rule that will fundamentally change higher education and make it nearly impossible for many Americans to get college degrees of their choosing. And you need to know what's about to happen because the Department of Education is rolling out a new accountability test for universities across the country. And the test is simple. If an undergraduate program's graduates don't earn more than workers who never went to college, then that program could be cut off from student loans from the federal government. But here's the thing. In some states, like Florida, for example, this could compromise teachers' ability to get student loans. Plenty of liberal arts degrees as well could struggle to qualify for student loans. What they're essentially saying is that the federal government should not underwrite your degree anymore if you can make more money by not getting that degree, by essentially not going to college. And so this rule, which the Department of Education is pushing forward very quickly, will fundamentally change the way students operate in colleges. And it'll start happening as soon as early next year. Follow for more.
So what are your thoughts on that?
The federal government no longer has an interest in the future of this country. I mean, educating our younger people is the most important thing, right? Because these people are going to go on to the future to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, architects, and members of our government. So it's important to educate them. But by doing this, they are cutting off millions and millions and millions of people from being able to afford a secondary education.
But here's what I find is interesting, and this is what people need to understand, really. Okay, the federal government declassified, okay, a number of professions as being non-professions. Okay, go back and look at that list. That list is like nurses. That list is like, teachers, right? Like you can go through the laundry list of professions, right, that are no longer considered to be professional. Okay. That was step one. Step two is this step of not underwriting. So if they're saying you don't need a degree for X profession, okay, then what they're saying is they're no longer going to underwrite that loan to go to school for that degree. And keep in mind, just because you're getting a degree, you may go and get a liberal arts degree, but you may be going to college afterwards, okay, for your law degree or for a medical degree or for whatever. And so what they're basically telling you is you may not even be able to get that undergrad degree to go to that professional institution later down the road. And therefore what they're doing is they're bringing us back to a caste system. So unless you have the money to put your kid through school, or your kid has the money to put themselves through school, you are not going to school. There is no secondary education. You're going to graduate from high school and they're going to tell you, get a job. And that's going to be it. Okay. And it's going to limit earnings potentials, not only in the future, but it's also going to gut the middle class completely, because
that's what this has all been about.
Only rich people will be able to get degrees and get professional jobs, and we're all going to be beholden to them. When you don't have a degree, and you can ask anybody, it's harder to get a job, even if you're qualified, even if you've done that job before. There are times that it becomes really, really problematic to get jobs.
Yes. And so if you're thinking about having a higher paid job, like if you want to start a family, you want to get married, have a family, buy a home, you're not going to be able to do that without being able to get into a higher paying career. And they're looking to cut you off.
Right. And so that's sort of the grand scheme. What does this necessarily mean for those people? Well, I have a daughter who will be applying to get financial aid, will be applying to get those government-backed loans. Okay. And basically what we're being told is that may not be available to us. Right. So if you have a high school age kid who is even remotely thinking about going to college, this will impact you.
Right.
Okay.
Now.
If you have a junior high kid, that you may be saying, hey, I want my kid to go to college, right? This will impact you. This will impact everybody. If you aren't getting government-backed loans, you may say, well, the colleges give out the loans. The colleges give out the loans because they are backed by the federal government. Okay? If the federal government isn't backing those loans, the colleges isn't giving those loans. And that's actually happening today. Number of colleges are moving. I think one of them is actually in state, a very good college, Syracuse University. They're talking about cutting programs now because they can't get the students in the programs because the students aren't qualifying for the loans. They're not qualifying for federally backed grants. So what we're seeing is this has now become an epidemic across the country where good universities and colleges are struggling, okay, and having to cut programs because this federal government is no longer assisting higher education. And this will impact us because that means that prices are going to continue to go up for colleges and universities, but there'll be less funding available. So if you have a college age student or you have a kid that is in a high school age student or a junior high age student, right? This will absolutely 100% impact you. This will impact Orange County and Orange County residents. This will impact New York and New York residents.
Yep.
And if you aren't concerned about this, if you aren't calling your politicians, your senators and your congressmen and everything else like that and saying, no to this, we want to fund higher education, then you may be SOL and your kid may not be going to college.
Let me add to this because I know right away people are going to jump into our comments and be like, oh, why do we have to carry them or something, with our tax dollars? And let me just remind you of what this program is. And what Neil said earlier is that the people who are going to get underwritten by the government are going to be the wealthy people who could afford to pay for it to begin with. Your tax dollars will be supporting that. Will be supporting the wealthy class and not your own people, not your own children, not your own neighborhood, not your own community, but the ultra wealthy.
It's also think about the different types of positions that this would impact. You're talking about business professionals. You're talking, just in everyday life. No matter what business you're dealing with, there are business professionals there making that business run. These could be technical engineering jobs, believe it or not, right? These could be, the weatherman jobs, right? Like, the people who administer weather, science jobs, engineering, your STEM, mathematics. These are all like, you may say, what are you going to do with a mathematics degree? But there are a million things that not even accounting. There are a million things. There are people who do prediction models, economics. Like,
basic bookkeeping.
You're talking about anything where people, have needed a degree or some type of education to do,
Paralegal.
And,
I was a paralegal.
And you're going to eliminate all these people. And it's not going to drive up salaries or anything like that. If you think it's going to drive up salaries, it's not. It's actually going to drive down salaries.
The goal. So now they know that.
So now you're going to make less, and you're not going to be able to get the services that you want because the businesses aren't going to have qualified people to hire. So now more jobs are going to end up being outsourced. Okay. And there's going to be rampant poverty, as if there isn't already, and more breadlines and more people who can't get jobs in this economy, but I go back to, if you're a parent and you're raising a kid and you want your kid to go to college, you're staring at a $50,000 a year bill and no loans, no grants, nothing to help you. And for somebody who's middle class, even if you're earning anywhere between $75,000 and $125,000, you're not able to afford.
You can't do it.
You're not going to be able to afford $50,000 a year in education costs for your kid. You're just not going to be able to do it.
People will be taking second loans or if they have equity in their homes, because as we know, because the pricing of homes have gone up so much that people are waiting. Younger people are not buying homes. It's mostly people in their upper 30s or their 40s are the ones that are buying homes. So their kids are already getting closer and closer to college age to begin with. It's not like they have little babies that they have to save for and they can build their equity up. So you're going, so you got a choice, a roof over your head or your kids going to college. When Neil and I were growing up, our parents worked to put us through school so we could do better than them. Now the children, today's children are going to do worse than their parents. They don't.
Well, there's,
And no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what's going to happen is people will blame the colleges, right? Colleges will have to drop programs, okay? Which then, if you add your eyes to go to Syracuse University, you may not be able to go to Syracuse University because they may not have the degree. Not only that, the colleges will be to blame because then they're going to say, well, why aren't colleges giving out loans anymore? And people aren't going to understand the underwriting aspect of college loans and how the government helps support colleges and universities and higher education through these government-backed loans. It just goes to show you that people don't understand how integral government is a part of our lives. And this whole anti-socialism bullshit that the right is trying to push on us, their fascism that they're trying to push on us, is completely ridiculous. A government-backed loan isn't socialist by any stretch of the imagination, but it allows for a benefit for the people, right, to get that education if they so choose to get that education. Okay?
Right. Yes. And so let me point this out. This is probably just going to be another thing that the states will need to pick up and invest in to be able to educate the students in their states.
No.
You don't think they'll do that?
Because, well, you got to remember, the states are already propping up institutions like college institutions because there are state colleges. Most states have their own colleges and universities. Like in New York, we have the SUNY system and the CUNY system already, right? How much more subsidies can SUNY and CUNY get from the state if the federal government continues to stop, if they stop altogether funding colleges and universities and higher education? I mean, you can only stretch a dollar so much. You can only stretch a dollar so much.
But we are a giver state in the sense that we have a surplus that we give over to the federal government. How will maybe it's time for us for a soft secession and we freaking keep that money. And oh, by the way, raise taxes on the billionaires and have them help you supplement the people, because they pay their fair share in the state.
Well, that's a different argument. That's a different argument altogether.
Look. At this point, the government is they're interested in one thing: profit. Right? They're buying up businesses or taking interest in businesses and not taking interest or investment in the people of the country. So the states are going to be forced to pick up and have to if they want to supplement their take care of their citizens. The states are going to have to pick up, and that's a way.
But do they want to? Listen, I have to make a valid that has to be a valid question in this argument. And I know we're sort of deviating away from our original topic, which was the loans, but there's a reason why state governments, especially New York, are investing in flock cameras and the camera industry, and the surveillance industry. Everybody sees what's coming. Everybody, the people in power see what's coming. They're being told what's coming. They're being told what to do about what's coming. The only people who don't seem to understand what's coming are the people themselves, right? They don't understand government enough to understand that a student loan is backed by the federal government. Even though the student loan is coming from your school and you're being granted it through your school, the student loan itself is being backed by the federal government. So if you default or whatever happens, the government will pay the institution, right? And then owe the government. It's a way to ensure that the system can continue to function. It's an underwriting process like insurance. Just like in Florida, where the federal government stopped underwriting insurance companies, right, for damage in Florida. Well, what happened? The insurance companies don't want to insure homes in Florida because it's no longer being underwritten by the federal government. It's the same fucking thing. So this is what is mind-boggling to me. It's just like the fact that, the drill baby drill crowd, like, oh, if America drills more oil, we're going to be, that'll take care of us. But we don't own any oil. We don't own any oil. We don't produce any oil. We don't own any oil. The oil that's extracted in America is extracted by Shell, BP, Exxon, Chevron. It's all corporations. Okay. And then they sell
it's not profitable to dig right now.
Right. And it's sold on the open market. We as Americans don't benefit from drilling in the United States or oil production. That's not what we do. That's socialism. That is socialism.
Right. We don't have nationalized oil here.
Right. That is nationalized oil is socialism. That is the reason why we have been fighting with fucking Venezuela. I love the drill baby drill crowd, right? Like, you want to be like Venezuela. Like, it's hysterical. That's the crowd. It's just that people hear capitalism. They don't understand the meanings of the words.
Right.
Okay.
We don't.
And this gets me back to, this is a real issue. This is really going to impact families all across the United States, and it will absolutely kill jobs in the United States for a generation. For an entire generation will be lost as a result of this. We will lose education. And before you say, well, you should be able to afford it, what about the kid who's growing up right now, okay, in poverty, in abject poverty, okay, who could be the next Stephen Hawking, who could be the next Albert Einstein? What about that kid? Because that kid will not be able to get an education. That kid's future will be rotted on a vine. And that kid could be the kid that comes up with a cure for cancer, or comes up with a cure for some disease that hasn't even hit us yet. Okay, that is a tragedy, and that's an avoidable tragedy. But this administration doesn't give a shit about anybody but themselves. Okay, and if you think that that's a bad idea and we shouldn't be funding that kid, well, fuck you, right? Because I'm sorry, we need to basically be supporting everybody to be their best selves, to contribute to our society. That's the goal. The goal is to make sure that everybody contributes in their own way, not in the way that you choose, but in their own way, right? This is what happens when a society values capital over labor. Okay.
Right.
We don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Right? We don't give a shit. Okay. So you look at the doctors in this country. Go to your doctor now, right? Doctors aren't Americans. People aren't going to school to become doctors in America anymore. Okay? Most of the people who are,
after this happens.
most of the people who are getting their medical degrees, you go to any, are foreign nationals, are immigrants to this country. Okay, who are coming here because they don't want to be a doctor in their home country, or they come here for the education and they realize they want to stay and build a family, build a life for themselves here. Okay, right? But no, you want to throw those people out of the country who are treating us when we don't even have enough doctors in this country, because we aren't producing doctors, because we won't back them. We won't have their back and underwrite their education.
So you brought up a really important point, because the younger generation isn't going to be able to go for medical degrees. They're going to be, because those are expensive to get. And so the average family which is, and we're moving closer and closer. The middle class is dropping closer and closer to the poverty line and below it, what's left of the middle class, that is. So they're not going to be able to go and get higher education degrees. And they've categorized nursing degrees as non-professional. So you're going to lose a lot of nurses. You're going to lose a lot of medical technicians that do x-rays and anesthesiologists and all of these important positions within the medical community. And so, look 10, 20, 30 years down the road, as you're aging, who's going to be there to treat you when you're a senior and you have cancer? You're not going to have those people here. Not to mention all of the immigrants that we're chasing who, as Neil just talked about, who have medical backgrounds and training. They're not going to be here. They're being chased out of the country. We have a massive, massive brain drain happening right now. And,
Yes.
and you know who's offering? Who's offering to take those brainy people, those well-educated people? Countries like China. Some have gone to Canada, but a lot of them are being enticed by China. China will finance their labs and their science and their research. And we've cut all that off because they need more money for themselves.
But it's about, think about it. You go to a doctor today, right? And, most people these days, when they go to an urgent care or emergency room, they're getting diagnosed by a PA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And remember, PA is a physician's assistant. Okay. Right. So you have your nurses, and then you have your PAs, and then you have your doctors. Okay. So you're not getting diagnosed by a doctor already.
Been like that for a while.
Right? And you're talking a PA doesn't have, right, their medical license. They have a license, but it's not a medical license, right? They didn't go to med school. Okay. They didn't take the gross anatomy, right? Like that most people who get their MD have. And then you turn around and you're going to say, well, we're not going to fund these anymore, right? So people aren't going to be able to get these degrees. And as we have a nursing crisis right now in New York and across the country, okay, we're saying, yeah, we're not gonna back people's education for nursing. So we'll even have less nurses, we'll have less PAs, right? So who's going to be diagnosing you, right? Well, they want AI to diagnose you. Yeah, go on AI and ask them for a diagnosis, right? And to prescribe something for you. They'll prescribe to you peroxide, right? And then you'll end up dead. I mean, this is the shit that they're where the country's moving towards, and I don't see anybody saying stop. But this one, this is the one. If you're looking at an issue that will get swept under the rug, that will impact future generations, and will be really what we see as that focal point of when things change in this country, this could be it. This is the one that could actually end up being it, because we already have a brain drain, as Denise said, and then you're going to add on top of it, right? Defunding education, higher education altogether. That's it. That's the ball game. You're talking a generation. It would take, if that happens, it's going to take probably like 2 or 3 generations to make up for that. And people will just be dying in the street because they won't, you think healthcare, right? This is all part of it, right? You defund healthcare,
all ties
you get
in.
rid of doctors and nurses. That's it. That's the game. Mass death. Done.
Yeah. It's funny, that you bring that up because, you're on social media all the time. And I saw a post from someone talking about this. I guess her father had cancer, and we were talking about SNAP benefits. And his SNAP benefits, he's cancer, he can't work. So he was terminally ill, unable to work. He was on SNAP, and his SNAP was cut to $30 a month. The guy gave up because they couldn't afford to eat. I guess he came to live with her, so he couldn't afford to take care of himself. And he gave up, stopped treating, and passed away in March because of that, because of these cuts. You know, Eh, how how a government treats their citizens is a reflection as to whether they're great or not. This this is not great. The antithesis of being great, of greatness, turning us into a third world country at a blistering pace. So this is why the midterms really matter, folks.
the the value of a government, right, or of a society is what they're willing to spend their money on. And this government has shown that the only willingness that they have to spend money on is tax breaks for billionaires. That's pretty much it.
And the military industrial complex, rigging the markets for the ultra wealthy.
We just ran out of munitions. They're obviously not paying their bills. So I'm not even going to say that. I mean, the typical Trump, he's just not paying his bills. So, I don't even know what to say. We ran out of munitions. We're like, I've never seen a more traitorous group in my life. I really haven't. And it's interesting that they're attacking, the far left flank, right? Who literally just wants to give people healthcare, right? Like they just want they want people to be able to afford a home and get healthcare. And I remember when those two things were the American dream, right? Like I get healthcare, I buy a home, I have a family. That was the American dream at one point in time.
You gotta put your kids through college so they do better than you did.
Right. And you have a group out there that's all they're advocating for, right? And they're being called like traitors, they're being called communists, they're being called everything under the sun. It absolutely amazes me. At the point in time when these fuckers, right, are trying to take away your higher education, trying to take away your health care, right? Trying to take away your payroll taxes, right? They want you to pay payroll taxes, but they want that money for themselves. They don't want to put it into Social Security and Medicare. So that they're taking away that.
So that's coming.
They're taking away every fucking program that you have. Okay. Right. And then they're turning around and calling the people that say, we want to protect these programs and we want to expand on these programs. They're saying that they're the un-American ones, right? Like as if somehow, like it just amazes me. It absolutely amazes me. But if you have a kid that you're looking to send to college in the next like 5 to 10 years, wake up.
This is the time. Speak up now.
This is the time, right? Because once they take that away, it's going to be really, really fucking hard to get that back. And you're not getting it back anytime soon because you have another 2 years of this administration, right? And then you're going to have another administration come in that's already had this program defunded. And then they're going to have to work to get funding back for the program. Okay. And they're going to call the people who want funding for this program, right? They're going to call them traitors and communists. Okay. So we have a program right now that we're benefiting from, and they're going to take that program away and you're not getting it back. Just like everything else that they take away, you're not getting it back. So if you want to if there's something to fight for, this is what to fight for now, right? Because this is a program that's going to affect everybody. And you may say, I have no kids, whatever. It will affect you because the next time you go to the doctor's office and you complain that you couldn't see an actual doctor, remember this. Remember this moment.
Or if you need a lawyer to help you with a legal problem, you're not going to have many choices of lawyers. Or if you need an accountant to do your books, all of these professional careers are, Neil is an accountant. He's not from a wealthy background. I went to paralegal school. I could have gone on to law school, but I chose not to because I was working and I was enjoying my job. But I went to paralegal school. Engineering. Architecture.
Building bridges, building homes. The next time your home is built, right, and you wonder why it collapsed, maybe check the education level of your architect to ensure that they're actually know how to build homes. Because I can tell you, when I was in high school, I took a shop class. I was fucking terrible. I was terrible. But you know what? That shop kid who was terrible, totally hire that guy to build your house. Totally. I just go out and do it. See what happens. Give the guy a couple $100,000, have him build a house for you. See what happens.
Yeah. That's where we are. So definitely, folks, you should reach out to your elected representatives. I recommend using the 5 Calls app. You can probably download that on your phone, whether it's Android or Apple, and you just plug in your zip code and it will list the representatives, the federal representatives that are in your area, but both for the House and the Senate that you can contact. I think you also have a choice for state representatives too, but definitely reach out and get your voice heard because they're looking to implement this starting in 2027. All right, guys, let us know what you think in the comments. Leave us a comment of 7 words or more to feed the algorithm. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. And follow us on the Daily Gripe. That is our channel where we take on more nationwide and even international topics as well. And watch us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. for a live stream. And we will see you soon, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you soon. Take care, guys. Love you.
Peace out.